right, first I would like to introduce myself. I'm Jimmy Griffith, and I work with the Department of Workforce Development and Continuing Education, mainly with WBL, which is also known as Work-Based Learning. This is a program that allows students to get work experience within their program of study. They actually go to work. It's a class. They go to work and sometimes get paid for it depending on the employer and what the agreement is. So you get experience, you get credit, and you also get to peek into your program area of study to see if it's the right thing, if it's the right match with you. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about interview skills and professional networking. And this is it's a it's a large topic. So we're going to try to condense it as much as possible for the time that we have for this What's Next series. All right, let's see if I can change it. There you go. So how to prepare for an interview. So first thing you have to remember is that the prep for an interview starts long before your scheduled interview. So you got to make sure to start doing things now. If you have a scheduled interview, of course you have to accelerate this process, but start it now. It doesn't matter if you have any interviews in the horizon or not. So the first thing is to have a professional resume. It's very, very important. Not only it's important for the application process, which again, you probably won't get an interview without a resume, but you also need to make sure that for the interview itself, you actually bring your resume, regardless if you already send it to them. Don't assume that they have seen your resume. Sometimes there are hiring committees. Sometimes you have HR. It depends who selects you out of the pool of candidates. Some of the folks that are actually interviewing you might not have seen your resume yet, so make sure you bring it. So professional resume, so make sure it's proofread and updated. Bring extra copies. I usually say 10. You never know who's going to show up at the interview. You might have one person. You might have a board, so you might have 5 or 6 different people interviewing you at the same time. I had the experience when I got the job at Caldwell Community College that it was about 8 people that were in the hiring committee. So if I did not bring about 10 copies, I would have to be selecting who I thought was the person with, I guess, higher hierarchy command in the department. That would not be good. So you want to bring enough to everybody who's present. And of course, make sure that the resume is to the point and visually appealing. You don't have to fill in your resume full of words without having any type of space. It's good to have some breaks because visually we get tired of looking at resumes, especially if you're looking at several resumes all at once. If you have too many words, it does not really, the brain kind of shuts down. So you want to make sure that it looks visually appealing as well. So make sure that you do research. Your knowledge of the organization is so important. So go to their About Us and look for information about their history, what type of product and services that they produce or provide. Make sure you look at the mission statement. I have had situations where in interviews they would ask about what do you think about their mission statement. And if you did not know, it would show that you did not go as far to researching that. So it's very, very important for you to research the organization. And again, that About Us will give you most of the things that you need to see about an organization. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper, especially if you're trying to apply to a certain section of the organization. Try to look for that section on the website and read a little bit about that department or section of the organization to know what they do and what is their mission statement within the company and what is their product service and so forth. So that's very, very important. And if you're just showing up to an interview just to collect a paycheck and not really be a valuable team member, they're not going to consider you. So the research provides that sort of extra, I'm interested not only on the job, but I really want to contribute to this. I don't want to just be a person who's coming in, checking out, and collecting a paycheck. So very important. Confidence and stress management. This is so important. Everybody gets nervous when they're interviewing, including the people who are interviewing you have been in your seat interviewing for their job, and they understand that the interviewee will be nervous, and that's fine. It's what you do next is what's important. If your nervousness basically boycotts your interview, then you're not going to possibly get the job. So make sure that you acknowledge that nervousness is normal, and then you go to try to get yourself as limber and loose as possible to be able to convey the information. All right, so what you can do about nervousness? Well, I always say that it's sort of a body and a mental thing. So you can do some exercises for you to prepare yourself. Breathing is very important to calm your heart, calm your nerves if you have the jitters. So breathing very slowly in. I usually try to do breaths of 5 seconds in, inhale, and 5 seconds out, exhale. So, you can do that. And by meditation, which is the next thing here, I don't mean necessarily go to a temple and find a monk or anything like that. This just means to kind of clear your head of all that chatter, all that buzz about, oh, am I going to do well? And all that stuff. You kind of just be in the moment and try to clear your head of all that sort of buzz and negativity that might be playing in your head. That brings me to old tapes. Old tapes basically means that sometimes we have those sort of voices in our head telling us that we're underprepared or undeserving of that position. That can boycott a lot of our efforts. So I always tell people to substitute the old tapes for new tapes. You might not be able to turn off the old tapes, but you can turn the volume down and crank up some new tunes, which are more reaffirming that you are in the right place, you are deserving of, you are qualified, and you can contribute to whatever job you're trying to apply for. Paradigms basically said you have to kind of understand that folks come from different backgrounds, have different perspectives. So the more you understand that, the better you will adapt to any job. Um, so this is very important to realize, and especially now we have some fields that have folks from different generations, maybe 2 or 3 generations from our own, and sometimes it's hard to connect. So by understanding that they're coming from different backgrounds, different perspective, and different generation helps us not only to interview well, but also to work with folks from different generations well. Posture. If you come with a posture like say you're hunch over and your arms are crossed, or you're anything that is showing that you're nervous and not willing to open up, it will basically give you away. So posture is very important for you to think about it before you walk into the room and while you're sitting. And I tell folks also exercise is always good to kind of clear your mind, make you feel good. So if you could, before an interview, exercise a little bit, you would be way more relaxed than if you just kind of came in cold, just woke up and frantically brushed your teeth, put your clothes, and drove off to the interview. So body language is something that I would like for you to start observing right now. So see how you stand, see how you sit, see what you do with your hands and your arms and your legs, and see what type of messages that conveying to others. You can actually train your body to be more, let's say, in a position that is projects confidence, but also it's healthier for you physically. So put your shoulders back and make sure your back is straight, and make sure that your arms are not crossed over all the time, and that you're doing things that could show nervousness, like some folks like to mess with their hands, or their foot is going up and down real quick, like they're nervous. So you can do some of those things to control that nervousness and what you're showing to the employer. And eye contact. This is so important. A lot of people are, when they get nervous, they avoid eye contact, and that is a dead giveaway that you're nervous, or you might not have the communication or people skills to have a engaging conversation with the eye contact. Again, sometimes it's nervousness, so make sure you address that. So clothing and hygiene, this is so important. I made a list of do's and don'ts. And first, I would like to tell you that choose your interview clothing in advance. Okay, try it out, make sure it fits, make sure there are no stains or wrinkles and all that good stuff before the interview. I'm not talking about the day of, I'm talking about way before, like the night before or even before that, because you want to make sure that you have something good to wear, something that's professional, and you want to make sure that you also keep in hygiene. So, for example, make sure that you have fitting clothes. Make sure that you're wearing flat or low heel and comfortable shoes. Make sure that This is for healthcare, by the way, the scrubs with a nice lab jacket. So please disregard if you're not in the healthcare field. Slacks are nice, and matching styles. Make sure that you have, both bottoms and tops that are complementary or matching with muted colors. So make sure you have light or no makeup. Groom your hair. Make sure that it's practical yet professional. Cover tattoos when possible, for especially for healthcare type jobs, because again, sometimes you're working with folks from other generations that might not see tattoo as body art, and again, they are also in situations where they're there because they might be having memory issues or other health issues that does not make them the most understanding at that moment. And again, you can't fault them for that, but it helps for you to minimize those distractions. Okay. Some of the don'ts: wearing low cut tops and short skirts, dresses or shorts. Display tattoos, already put that, or piercings. Um, and again, depends on the job. High heel shoes, sandals, or flip flops, please avoid those. Too much jewelry and too many accessories. Tight pants or print patterns like tiger print, for example, bright colors, heavy makeup, perfume, and scents. I, for example, am allergic to uh, like these strong scents. So if I'm sneezing and I'm interviewing you, that would not be good because I would have to cut the interview earlier. And of course, unkept hair or nails. So don't do those things. So how to prepare for an interview. So interview questions are so important. You can actually ahead of time practice these. So if you see that QR code there to the right, you can actually scan that and you have the list of questions that are most likely going to be asked at an interview. And this is so, so important to already prepare some of these answers. I always tell folks that try to practice this with another person, because we sound awesome when we are speaking in our head, but when it comes out of our mouth, sometimes we can't get the words out and it's not as cohesive. So make sure to go ahead and practice that before you walk into the interview. So again, practice and elaborate it. Be sure to be able to back up the claims. So if you say that you have great leadership skills and they say, oh, give me an example of that, well, you better be able to back up those claims. So don't put anything that you cannot back up. And of course, do it by showing real examples of when you did it. Okay. So it could be, I work well under pressure. Oh, tell me about a time that you worked under pressure well, or that time that you demonstrated conflict resolution. You have to, again, back up those claims with real examples. Don't make it too personal, like keep family life or anything like that, because again, it can come back to bite you. You can say something that might make them make assumptions about you. Again, we're going to try to keep it professional about the job and about your skills, and leave a little bit of that personal stuff to the side. Turn negatives into positives. So sometimes they'll ask you, what is your greatest weakness? Well, sometimes you can just give such a great weakness that, they're going to say, yeah, we don't want to hire you. So make sure that those negatives are something that you can turn into positives. For example, if you say, I have a hard time saying no to others, but you recognize that, and you actually are consciously making sure you don't say yes to everything coming your way at first, unless it's something that you can do and should be doing. So that's something that you have to be mindful of. Legal questions, I'm going to call legal or unethical questions. We have also on the list some of those questions that employers shouldn't be asking. Unfortunately, sometimes you hear about folks saying that they have been asked those questions before, and you could politely decline to answer those, because again, it's something that it shouldn't be asked to begin with, but you don't have to be rude about it. You can actually be polite about not answering those. And of course, always sell your skills, talents, and experiences. Again, when you're there, you're not there to be humble in the sense that, oh, I don't want to, tout my skills because I don't like to brag about myself. Well, you're not bragging. You're just basically advertising your skills and talents and experience that is going to be greatly appreciated at the company or organization that you're applying for. And by the way, I'm zooming by this because this is a lot of material and we're going to have this recorded. So if you have any questions or if you'd like to review it, you can actually do it in your own time slowly. And I'm going to add my email. So if you have questions that you would like some answers, I will email you back. So first impressions matter. This is so important. In class, when I usually do these workshops, I ask folks, how long does it take for you to make a first impression of someone? And a lot of folks give me different times. They say, oh, a minute, an hour, whatever. It's actually in a split second. As soon as somebody comes in through the door, for example, you make an automatic impression of them, and that impression will last. Sometimes you met somebody for the first time and you made a first impression, you might know them for years, and it might take years before you change your opinion about the person from that first impression. So make sure that the first impression is a good one, a positive one. So how do we do that? Well, make sure that your clothes are pressed and fitting. Um, Make sure your body language is there, make sure your confidence is there, all that good stuff. The handshake is so important. Here's some of the things that I suggest for you to do during, to have for interview day. So make sure you have the address, the building, and the office location. Leave your bags and electronics and other distractions in your car because you might have phone ringing and text messages coming in. Just leave that in the car. You don't need it for that time. Arrive early. Be kind to administrative assistants because, again, those folks have contact with those interviewers. And if you are rude in the office but nice in the interview, well, that message about that rudeness will come from the front desk to whoever in a hurry. And folks that the hiring committee that might be happy with you as a potential hire might change their minds just by that interaction. And of course, make sure you have resumes in a portfolio style folder, that it's not just loose paper or, just put in anything. If you have a briefcase, folder, something professional and clean. And know the name of the interviewer. This is so important. If you have a bunch of people that are interviewing you, when they say their names, you can write it on your resume. Remember, you have extra resumes. You're giving them out. You're keeping one for yourself. Write their names there, okay? And you can even write in order so you know who is who. And the handshake is so, so important. Now with COVID, this has been changing a little bit, where folks are a little bit more, well, not a little bit more, a lot more iffy about any type of contact. So handshake historically, and I guess once we have some sort of gear, it'll be important again. But a nice firm handshake shows that you are confident and professional. Nowadays, you have some options of, some people do fist bumps, which I would not recommend in a professional setting, especially interview, or just a recognizing the person's presence from afar. It would be great. So anatomy of an interview. Opening is usually 5 to 10 minutes. This is when you do the first impressions, you do the handshake or whatever welcoming salutation you would like to do, you would prefer to do. Introductions like the small talk and tell me about yourself. And it lasts about 5-10 minutes. You're breaking the ice, get to know folks, and then you get to the information exchange, which lasts about 20 minutes. That's the question and answers. That's the meat of it. That's where you're going to get the education and experience and qualifications and your goals, and they'll be assessing your soft skills. That's where all that good stuff is. That's what basically is going to probably guarantee that you're going to get a job or not. And in closing, that's about 2 to 3 minutes. This is when you ask questions. Very, very important, by the way, even though it's probably the least amount of time of all of the interview. It's very important. Ask your questions. In that QR code that I sent you, with the questions, you will have some suggestions of questions as well that you can ask the employer. So that's so important. And that's where you say, your thank you for the interview and the opportunity, and state your case. Why are you the most qualified applicant? Okay, reaffirm that you want the job, but also reinstate those, I'm the best person in the job because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's going to be a way to sum up what you have talked about for, 20, 30, 45 minutes. You bring it back to say, hey, this is why I'm the best qualified candidate or applicant. I'm going to move on to professional networking unless you have any questions. Just one thing I would like to add is that with online virtual interviews, things have changed a little bit. So make sure, that you have your computer in a background that doesn't reveal like a clutter at your house, something that looks nicer, and make sure the lighting is good. You probably don't want to do the lighting of the room. You might want to have a lamp close by that illuminates your face, and so that you're not in the shadows, that person can see you and your facial expressions and such. Right. Professional networking. So professional networking, what is that? So a way to explain professional networking is meeting with folks, getting to know folks that are within your, it doesn't have to be within your profession, but knowing people in a professional setting that you can actually exchange information, and maybe you can gain business from that, or you can offer a service, or sometimes just somebody good to communicate and exchange ideas about what they do, what you do, and all that good stuff. So, why network? Oh, it's so important. Employment opportunities. You can actually hear about employment opportunities through your new or pre-existing network. You can also share and receive knowledge. I have a problem that I'm dealing with now that is X, Y, and Z, and the person say, "Hey, I got the perfect solution. I can, contact somebody within work that has this product, or they're doing this procedure this way or this process, so you know how the help is going to come." So knowledge is very important. Exchange of services. I have a service to provide to you that will help you achieve your goals, or vice versa, receive a service. Solve a problem. I talked about that in a little bit back. And of course, you can expand clientele. You never know. That person might turn in to be a client of yours in the near future. So what is accomplished when networking? So you learn about careers. You can find prospective job candidates if you're hiring. Get advice about a project. Learn about a prospective employer. So if you're applying for a job, you might know, oh, tell me more about that employer. I work there, or know more about the employer than you do. And of course, you have to prepare to make pitches to clients. So if you're looking for a job, you have to have sort of that elevator speech. Who am I? What am I looking for? What are my goals, my career goals? So make sure you have something prepared. And by elevator pitch, we mean just imagine taking an elevator from one floor to, let's say, from first to third floor. You might only have 30 seconds to have a conversation with somebody in an elevator. So you have to kind of have that speech down so you can tell them about you in seconds or less. So who should be in your network? It's always good to have current and former classmates and instructors, because again, they're going to go to the workforce, or they are in the workforce in the case of instructors, and they have their own networks. So it's always good to have them in your network. So make sure when you're in class, you might have that boring lesson and you're not doing what you're supposed to. Well, that instructor might be the key for your first career by giving you a good recommendation. You never know. So you got to make sure to be professional even in the classroom, even though it's not a quote unquote job, at least not paying job. It might pay dividends by adding them to your network. Current and former coworkers, that definitely is part of your network, and very valuable. Fellow members of professional associations. So there's about a professional association for almost anything you can think of. A group of people that does something similar or the same that you do, and get together to talk about trends and changes and updates and opportunities and training and all the good stuff. And friends and family, we forget, we think that networks are only professionals, but no. You can actually have friends and family in your network as well, and community members. They don't have to be part of your career path, but they definitely will help you along the way. And again, once you have them in your network, you can tap into their network, their extended network. So keep your network alive. This is so important. So networks are similar, but not as strong as friendships. So you have to, just like your friendships, you have to maintain them. Well, you have to maintain your network too. So you got to nurture it. You got to refresh it sometimes. Give a contact. Hey, by the way, I haven't heard from you in a long time. I hope everything is well. Not necessarily asking for any favors or recommendation or knowledge. Just, hey, I'm just touching base with you. I hope everything's okay. So it's a give and take. If you are only taking in a professional network relationship and not giving any, then that might not last very long because, again, it's good to give and take. You also find some commonalities with your network, which is always great. And of course, recognize them when they have help you land that job or give you a good tip or knowledge or uh, a resource to solve that issue or product or service. Recognize them. So some of the common barriers that folks find, some people are a little shy and they don't want to approach folks that they don't know. So that can get in the way because professional networking, you have to put yourself out there and talk to people and not just shy in the corner, especially if you're at an event. Go and meet folks, exchange cards. Sometimes insecurity plays in, so and you kind of have to put that aside and put your professional hat on and see the opportunity instead of seeing the shyness and insecurity. Some people say I have no time, and again, sure, that might be true, but if you don't make time to go out there and network, it's not going to happen, the way you imagine in your head. Because again, if you're not going out there to ceremonies and training, workshops, and social events, then you're not really going to be adding to your network. And knowing where to start. Some people don't know where to start. Well, there are a lot of local events. Chamber of Commerce is a great one. And also some of the festivals. You might see tents for businesses that they're trying to represent their product and what they can do for you. And you can meet them, exchange cards, and ask questions, especially if they're in your program area. It's very beneficial to meet those folks in person. And lack of connections. Oh, I have lack of connections. I don't know how to start. So again, go to those events, find them out. So here's some suggestions, okay? The Chamber of Commerce, they post their events on their calendar, and sometimes they have purely networking events just to do that, networking. So guess what? Great opportunity. They have ribbon cutting events. I have a lot of healthcare students right now, so I tell them if there's a ribbon cutting for new urgent care or anything like that, go meet the folks that are working there, the supervisors and such. Exchange cards, tell them about what you're doing in school and when you're graduating and how would you would like to apply in the near future. How can you do that? So business after hours, award ceremonies. So there's no lack of things for you to participate in. Nowadays, of course, you have a lot of virtual events that you can participate as well, and you can still network, believe it or not. So do so. So hiring events, we have Caldwell's Hiring as an example. We had one with health programs here at the community college, and we have from time to time hiring events at the community college that you should attend even if you're not trying to apply for a job. Again, just speaking and exchanging information, telling them about your professional goals and your qualifications is a great start. Professional development, training and workshops. It's a great place to meet people depending on where you're doing the professional development. It might be meeting your coworkers better, coworkers that might be working in is not there's no closeness to you as far as you don't see them very often. So you get to see them at these training, development, and workshop opportunities. Professional associations, it's a great place. People alike you that are in the same profession as you, so you'll find a lot of people that have a lot in common with you, and it's a great place to network with. LinkedIn is a great place to go and find these associations. Go ahead and create yourself a profile or polish off your profile. Make sure you have a picture and that you have parts of your resume there to show a little bit about your experiences in education and such and training. And go out there and start finding people in your field in associations. So go to festivals, fairs, and other public events. Like we have, again, unfortunately, a lot of these were canceled this year, but we have things like the Blackberry event, Sculpture Celebration, 5K fun runs. These are great places to meet businesses and individuals. And some of these are actually put together by organizations, like you might have the hospital may put together a 5K run. Well, guess what? You can actually go and talk to them and say, hey, this is a great event. I'm participating, but also would like to know more about X, Y, and Z. Volunteer is so important. By volunteering, you get to meet folks and get really, really close to them because you are experiencing something together, working together. And even if you don't know them previously, you come out there with a lot more stronger relationships. So that's so important. Cold calling. Hey, by the way, I really like organization and what you stand for, and I would like to someday work for you or organization that's similar. Do you have any opportunities opening up? Do you have any suggestions? So sometimes you can call or email an organization or person to know more about what they do and what are some of the opportunities that are open um, for you to apply. Coffee and lunch break or like a Zoom meeting, you can sometimes call them and say, hey, I would love to have lunch with you sometime and talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Again, with COVID, that's a little bit different, but you can still Zoom with them. But make sure you have a clear objective of what you want to get accomplished. Just don't say, I want to do coffee or lunch, but you don't have anything sort of prepared. It might not be like a PowerPoint presentation or anything, but that you would like to approach them about. And LinkedIn, which I mentioned, that's so, so important. LinkedIn used to be sort of in the fringe of like, I don't know about this LinkedIn thing. Nowadays, it's so important and part of networking and hiring, and it's actually a very powerful tool. So if you do not have one, create one. Make sure it looks great, that the profile picture is professional, and your information is accurate. Have somebody look at it, your teacher or colleagues, to look at it and give you some good feedback. So, coming to a close, networking in the age of COVID, there's this podcast called Hello Monday, and there's one with the guest, Reed Hoffman, and I believe he works for LinkedIn, and the podcast is actually coming from LinkedIn. And Reed talks a little bit about how people are adapting to this age of COVID to find ways to network. So, look at that. There's some great opportunities and great information for you. So, check it out. And here is my name and my email and number. Feel free to contact me anytime to ask any questions. And I'm actually going to post I'm going to stop this. I'm going to post my email here. Apologize, a little noisy here. All right. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to contact me, and I will answer any questions that you might have.